I want you to
181.
note, Pete, 181. That's right.
And I'll tell you, for those that are, I get people asking me this question every day, and I know you do too, John. So you can go to YouTube, you can go to Market Rebellion, or you can go to thestreet.com. And if you do that, it's going to either be right there or it's going to be on investing or options. So you've got a lot of different ways that you can acquire this wonderful stuff that we're putting out here, because it is good. It's great.
Yeah. It's great to be back on here with you, Pete. He is Pete Najarian. I'm John Najarian. We've got Jared handling all the dancing bears and whether or not the boing, look at that. The bull took him out.
Those bulls are taking care of business today, baby.
Well, yesterday afternoon, it was the Bears' turn. Today, it's the Bulls' turn, Pete.
The Bears got slapped around, though, John. We were down like 400 points, and by the end of the day, all of a sudden, we're down, what, 250, 260, and about 80 or 90% of that was United Health was down either way. So I'd say the Bulls actually took care of things yesterday as well.
I guess we're already into the macro minute then, Pete. We can probably dial it forward a little bit. Because
make it 30 seconds, Jared.
That's all we need. I mean, you don't even need a minute for it. Pete's right, though. You were a complete amateur if you believed that we were just going to keep dropping yesterday, because it's always a fade. If we go up, it's a fade. If we go down, it's a fade on Fed Day, because Jay Powell is going to go in there and say something or do something that causes the market to flip. And he did.
All right. The one macro I got on top of what you just said there, John, was just looking at crude today. Now, usually I'd put it in futures. I got something else there, but just looking at crude, we had a big spike early. As a matter of fact, energy, the sector of energy was up pretty substantially early on, about 2% off of a nice move from crude. Now we're easing back again. So, you know, it's never easy, but I think that something you definitely want to keep an eye on as well. We always talk about looking at all these various things, the 10-year, the dollar, the this, the that. Well, crude is definitely one of them to keep your eye on.
Absolutely. And now, Pete, what about fantastic futures?
Fantastic futures.
Well done.
Well done. That one's for you, Anita, over there at the CME. Pete, take a look at this chart, because that is the 10-year where I have the arrow there. I'm sorry, that is the 10-year. And notice how with the last 1, 2, 3 hikes, it hasn't gone anywhere. In fact, it is lower than where it was for 5 hikes back. So the stair step you see there, that's Fed funds, folks. The other is the futures, the 10-year futures. And I think that tells you everything you need to know. Nobody believes the Fed's going to move two more times this year.
Well, we hear about it every day, though, John. Real quick, I'll just say this. Wheat. We don't focus on it very often, but we've talked about it in the past for sure. And wheat has been going down, 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 down until recently, where we've had a pretty nice move to the upside, John. It's up almost 3% today, 2.5%, 3% today. In June, the start of June, it was 590. Now it's almost 650. It's down 20% year to date nonetheless, but a year ago, this was 1,034. Gives you a little bit of perspective of where it is right now and the potential maybe if it continues this move to the upside. Keep an eye on wheat. It's making a pretty substantial move in a very short period of time.
I got another one that's making a pretty substantial move, Pete. AI.
Giddy up.
Giddy up. AI, many of you recall that at the end of May, we were talking about, hey, they've got earnings coming out, and it's going to be all about whether they NVIDIA the earnings and basically make a statement as broad and bullish as that CEO made, or whether or not people say, $5 billion company and they make 72, or they have 72 million in revenue. That's not profit, folks. That's revenue. So then, Pete, we saw Tuesday of this week, unusual option activity.
We did.
And you and I love that because AI, which is, of course, artificial intelligence, there it is on the left side of your screen, the unusual activity. Today, there's where it moved. And it's been as high today as a dollar higher than here, 48.47, a new 52-week and I believe all-time high. So it just shows you that if you pay attention to the market rebellion stuff, you might find yourself in some pretty nice trades.
Well, there's some clowns on TV who once in a while say, "Oh, there's nothing unusual in the options markets." No, those people, none of them ever stood on a trading floor, and none
Nope.
of them understand options, because all you've got to do is take a look at what we've been having, John, recently specifically. It's been absolutely off the charts. Now, volume today is off the charts today in AI. That's huge. You look at the short interest. This has been the theme. If you've got decent short interest, and 28% I would say is pretty decent, that's AI, you're going to get these kind of squeezes. That's exactly what we started off the day with. Oftentimes, I will tell you this, when you establish a new 52-week high, John and I have been talking about this for many, many years, you're looking for maybe potentially another 10%. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that is oftentimes the indicators of another little lift just right through that. So we'll see if that happens. I'll tell you, one of the issues with AI has been energy, the fact that they're so exposed to energy. It's about 30% of their business. I'm not so worried about that, John, but on top of that, they are moving into other sectors. They're not just sitting in energy. They're going for defense. They're going for high tech. They're going for manufacturing across the board. So I don't think that this is the end of this. I think this is still a name that if you're looking in the AI space, you definitely want to keep your eye on this one. And with the options that we've been seeing, John, absolutely incredible. 43 million shares changing hands today. It's a monster day in AI.
It is. And, it doesn't hurt that Amazon was talking about what they're doing with AMD and AI yesterday.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Patterson Energy, Pete. I think it's the second time this week, and the reason's pretty simple. Earlier in the week, Patterson made a big move, and this next tier, another oil service player in the fracking space, also made a big move. And it was rumored by the Wall Street Journal, and we cited them, that it wasn't just a Reddit post. It was Wall Street Journal saying these two might be getting together. Guess what? They confirmed they are getting together. $5.4 billion deal, Pete. That's a pretty big deal. And Patterson Energy was up strong again.
Yep. It sure is, John. It's still not that far off of the lows either. So if you feel like you've missed it, maybe you missed a little bit, but there still could be some upside here. They talked about all the different synergies and the possibilities there, some of the growth, and that's actually a very big deal as well. Better free cash flow, better everything. And these guys are one of the biggest monsters there are out there, John, from the fracking perspective. So if indeed that continues to be a really strong field, and I think it will be, I think this is one of those names that you definitely want to keep an eye on. By the way, about an 8 to 10% short interest in this name as well. So could it squeeze a little bit? It could. We could see, but not saying that's the reason. I think the reason is all the headlines over the last couple of days, as you said, and that's why we're moving where we are. But let's not forget, stock has gone from the bottom end towards 10, upper end towards 20. Here we are today trading somewhere north of 12. So there's plenty of room to the upside for a recovery.
Well, I think that one, Pete, is a big deal. And I think this one, NKLA, is also a big deal because NKLA talked about it earlier this week on 3 at 3. This is a program that we do for our subscribers, folks. And there was, with the stock at about 87 cents, they were buying the July #1 strike calls, meaning that they thought that this thing could surge through $1 a share. It's only 13 cents away, but if you thought about it, that's a 15% move. And it did. It soared, in fact, all the way today to basically over a buck and screaming higher, all the way to $1.50. I think was that.
I think it hit 183, John. I think
I missed that one. Well, that's phenomenal, and a phenomenal squeeze too, folks. A lot of people can't even trade a stock when it's below $5, but somebody in here was profiting pretty mightily as these went up, and they paid 13 cents, Pete, for something that very quickly went to 55 cents and obviously all the way up to 83 cents on that 183 print that Pete saw.
Yeah, it's an incredible run to the upside, John, and they've got short interest there, of course. We're talking about a space, but also how about all the EV opportunities that were in front of us over the last few days? And you look at this name being another one of those. Well, NKLA's definitely gone south. It's had a really rough time of it all. underneath the buck. But with that short interest and some of the deals that they're talking about right now, particularly with Plug Power, potentially, that could be something very, very big for them as well. So it might not be over yet, John, but I'll tell you what, if you were on those options, I'll tell you what, discipline dictates action. Always make that reaction when you get something like this, because that's an incredible move to the upside.
Absolutely incredible move. And here's another, Pete, DFLI, because it's still way down year to date. And what do these guys do? Anybody that really follows lithium batteries, Pete, and even some Teslas, remember in the beginning, they'd always show you a Tesla on fire, because if they get into a bad enough accident, sadly, those batteries can start burning, and that lithium is almost impossible to put out once it's burning. Well, these guys, DFLI, they make a non-flammable solid state lithium battery. So you might imagine that that might be something people are pretty interested in. Stock was over 11 bucks not that long ago, Pete. And on a rally today, it gets back, a little bit, but certainly a far cry from 11 bucks.
Yeah. And it's great to see that they got, this patent, John. It gives them a great opportunity going forward. But how about the sheer volume? I mean, this is a stock that trades under 500,000 shares a day that's traded over 12 million shares today. So incredible move to the upside. This could be very beneficial. I'm a little skeptical only because I have a little bit of that somewhere in the back of me on this name. But certainly, John, when you see where it's been pounded down to, the problem is it had a little bit of a jump early and then kind of eased back off of that. And I just wonder, are there enough shorts out there that they can get their way? Can they bully the stock down a little bit? I don't know. I don't have the answer for that one. But certainly, if this thing has any ability to return anywhere close to those highs, there is plenty of room still in front of it. We'll have to see how that works. But very, very good start to the day, at least with this patent.
Yeah, and it's Dragonfly Energy, folks, is the name of the company. And like Pete said, the float is only about 5% short. So this isn't, getting the same kind of move that you get out of those massive shorts like Beyond Meat that had a 44% short interest. All right, Pete, take it over on the sports side. What do you got today?
I know we hit this almost every single week, John. We talk about Ohtani, but how do you not talk about a guy who's Babe Ruth playing today? And I know I've said that before, but John, right now, and you were bringing this up the other day, and you were talking about, hey, there's some great hitters out there. This Pete Alonso's really lighting things up or whatever. Well, Pete Alonso has 22 home runs. I got a pitcher out there in LA who's got 21 home runs. So in Shohei Ohtani, this guy is absolutely amazing in what he's doing every single night. And oh, by the way, his last home run, which was just not too many hours ago, his last home run, 453 feet. So it's not like this guy's just kind of slapping at it, John, and it somehow gets over the fence. It's been absolutely towering. And when you look at that one, might have been one of the furthest hit balls, I think, in Texas Stadium. And Texas, by the way, well, the Rangers, they're the second best team in all of baseball behind Tampa Bay right now. And that's where Ohtani was. That's where he hit this most recent home run. It's incredible, John. I think what they are doing and the fact that they're sort of chopping wood, they're now 5.5 games back. As we get closer and closer to the All-Star break and all the rest of it, how about some of those trades that actually, the trade deadline, which is not that far away now in baseball, that could get things pretty interesting as well. What do? Do you start to build up that team and make the Angels a team that's actually going to make a run? Or are the Angels the team that's going to give away Babe Ruth? Huge mistake if they do that, but it's happened to some great players before. Have you had a chance to watch Ohtani, John? I know we talk about him a lot, but I've actually watched this son of a gun. He is amazing, and some of the pitching that he's actually accomplished this year is also amazing on things that are beyond my pay grade, but barrel and some of these other things, he is off the charts.
What I really like, Pete, is, of course, a pitcher that can hit the ball like that. And what does that do? That means that your 9 spot in the order, where you usually have the pitcher hitting, all of a sudden, you got to change the way you play defense against these guys, because this is a guy that can advance runners when he's not hitting home runs as well. And I loved the bat flip last night, Pete. on that 453 footer because he just stood in there, freaking smacked it, and then just gave the flip like that as he trots around. That was an all-timer. I love that. Also, I think you're right as far as the pitching itself. He is a very charismatic guy with his teammates. They love playing with this guy. They love seeing a guy that's as into his hitting as he is into his pitching. And, he is, like you say, he's a Babe Ruth caliber guy. I know it's early. He hasn't hit 714 home runs, but Babe only played pitcher for a few years, Pete. Let's keep that in mind too.
Absolutely. And Babe didn't keep himself in the kind of shape that Ohtani's in either. If you take any views of that, looks a little bit different. All right, John, this is just kind of a fun topic because it is a little bit slower in the sports world, although the U.S. Open is today. And we were talking about how Rory and some of these guys might be kind of inching up to each other and maybe having a little bit of words or whatever. Probably not. They'll probably take the higher ground, hopefully. But there could be a little bit of animosity there. That all being said, the AFC and the NFC in the NFL, I think it's really interesting because everybody thinks that the East is the best divisions in all of football on the NFC side and the AFC side. And I'm going to push back a little bit on that, John. And I don't know where you stand. I mean, look, they are great. When you look at the NFC East and you look at the AFC East, yes, they are pretty loaded up. But I'm going to throw out this one. NFC North, Minnesota Vikings will not win 13 games, in my opinion. I think they're going to slide down a little bit. They might win 9 or 10. But I also look at your Chicago Bears, and I think that's a team that's made so many adjustments in the right way. And Justin Fields is becoming an unbelievable athlete quarterback like we haven't seen in a while. I think they're getting a lot better. I think Detroit's gotten a lot better. I think Detroit wins 12 games. I think the only team in the division that stinks is Green Bay. I don't know. The quarterback is not very good. The team has been decimated. They've lost a lot of different players at different positions. They do have some stars. They got a great cornerback. But I look over at that one, and then I go to the AFC, John. How about the West in the AFC? I mean, you've got some pretty daggone good teams when you look at, all right, Kansas City, the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Broncos. The Broncos got a lot better, got a much better coach. You got Kansas City, enough said. I mean, they're as good as it gets. You got the Chargers, and I think Herbert is one of the better quarterbacks in the entire NFL. And the Raiders with Jimmy G and maybe some of the ads on defense makes them pretty interesting. So those are where I'm going if you're going to go away from the East. But what about you, John? Do you think the East has got it beat?
No, I don't. I think you're right, especially AFC. But in terms of NFC, obviously, the Eagles are still, cream of the crop out there. And I don't think they did anything to hurt themselves. San Francisco in the West, probably still going to be awfully good. And obviously the East, you are waiting for me to say, oh yeah, Aaron Rodgers. And I am going to say Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Pete, if he doesn't fall on his face, and I don't think he will, but if he doesn't fall on his face and he gets these guys fired up, there aren't a lot of teams that want to play with, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets this year, instead of being the pushover that they've been for at least half the season, because they always seem to have half the season that they play great and half that they play like crap.
Yeah.
I think with Aaron Rodgers, this could be, they put both sides together into a great season. And then let's not forget, by the way, about Carr down in New Orleans, because now he finally has a defense, which, as you famously said, he did not have. He had a couple players over with the Vegas Raiders, but not nearly enough. And so even with good numbers, he couldn't overcome a crap defense. Now he's got a great defense. And I think the fact that he's the guy pitching the ball now instead of, some guy that basically plays the Tebow style, Pete, you know who I'm talking about. You need a true NFL quarterback, whether it's straight drop back or whether it's run and gun. And I think this guy Carr is capable of doing that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Carr's a stud. I think they're going to be really good. I think the Jets are going to be really good. I question the rest of the division down there in the South with New Orleans, Tampa and Carolina and those. I think they're a ways away still. But, the amazing thing with the Jets is, to your point, that is a tough spot up there when you've got the Jets, you got Buffalo, you got New England, you got Miami. I mean, all those are teams that everybody's very excited about. And I think you look at the quarterbacks and you go, pretty damn good. Although, you do wonder in New England if they've got enough. I don't know if they do or not. It all depends on Mac, but the quarterback. But there's a lot of things going on for sure. But I'll tell you, the Jets are everybody's talking point right now, John, because you got Aaron Rodgers, you got a great defense, and he's got a lot. He finally has a lot of different opportunities in front of him. He can throw it to this great guy, that guy, this running back. They really have put together a team. So, like, to your point, unless he falls on his face, I think the Jets are going to be pretty daggone interesting all year.
Yep. And I do think that he will perform there because
Yeah.
he's looked good in the OTAs and so forth, Pete. So why not?
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for joining us, folks. As you know, we don't do a show on Friday, so we appreciate all the support this week. We've got a Bulls, Bears, and Blockchain on Twitter Spaces at 5:30 Eastern Time today. And for those of you who watch the TD Ameritrade television network, I will be on there at, I think, 2:20 this afternoon Eastern Time. So we'll see you then. Have a great day, everybody. See you tomorrow.